Hello, everybody.
Welcome back to X2Z Garage, and in this episode, we're going to be telling you our story behind our '87 Ford Mustang GT convertible.
When we picked up this car, it only had 54,000 miles. Now, older couple owned it, and it sat inside their garage for probably about 15 years. Then they needed room in their garage, so they put one of those little fabric buildings up and put it inside there. So the lady that owned it loved the car. She could no longer drive it. Her vision was gone. Really nice lady. A friend of mine at work told me about it. It was his mother's car. So my son and I went over there to look at it, and its bones were solid. You could tell that it had never been driven in the winter, but it was in pretty rough shape. The interior was moldy. The carpeting was stained and discolored. The paint on the hood, apparently at some point in its life, a dog had got its paws on it and scratched the hood, so they had paint repair done. And unfortunately, this car originally had a single stage paint, and the repair shop that did it used two stage. Well, over time, the dissimilar chemicals decided to crack up the clear coat, or we would probably never paint the car. Through its journey, when we got it here, it ran rough. It would miss and
Had a dead spot in the throttle on the way home.
yeah,
And the heater core was leaking, so you could barely see it. We drove it home at night, so we couldn't use the heat because it would.
We had to continually wipe the windshield down from the inside with a rag. I was worried about getting antifreeze poisoning, honestly, as bad as it was leaking. We got it home and popped it open, figured out it was going to be a bear to change the
heater core.
Heater core, thank you. But we watched a couple YouTube videos, and they made it look like it was real easy. Like most YouTube videos do. You know, they cut out all the swearing and the cursing and the praying for help. So we tore the interior out.
Down to the floorboards.
Right down to the floorboards. And we realized then that this car was exceptionally solid. Mm-hmm. The floorboards, although they were dirty and from years of dust soaking through the carpet, once we cleaned that off, it was as shiny as a brand new car. Mm-hmm. That was a good sign for us.
Yeah.
So we tore the dash out, tore the heater box out. And while we had it out, I said, well, we might as well fix the air conditioning.
Yep.
So we put a heater core in it and put a new air conditioning condenser in it, or evaporator.
And a pump.
And a new pump, and put it back in. And we realized that the grommet for the firewall was not in it, so we tore the dash back out. Thank God we hadn't put the Freon in it yet, so we disassembled all that, took it back out, put the grommet to the firewall back on, and put it back in. Only to realize that once we got it running, the adjuster for the
vacuum lines wasn't hooked up.
Yeah, that car operates on vacuum, so when you change the heater controls from vent to defrost, vacuum tube and a little accumulator makes that happen. Well, in the process of pulling it out, either the first time, second time, or third time, the vacuum tube came off, and we looked at the schematics. At that point, I bought every original Ford manual for it, so we knew what we were getting into.
Yeah.
And that particular line was buried deep in the dash, so guess what? We had to pull it out again. Found it, put it back together, got it in there, had a friend of mine from work help me recharge the AC system. I bought the pump and everything to do it, and AC worked great. Then I realized that we hadn't put the defroster ductwork in it because it was sitting on the table over there.
We turned the setting on for the air, and we couldn't feel anything coming out of the vents. And then we looked on the trunk, and the duct was sitting on the trunk.
So guess what? Number 5.
Yep.
But this time we didn't take it completely out. We took the top part off, we loosened the screws, loosened the bolts, tilted the dash back, we were able to get it in. I still think we've got a gasket issue with that, but
the second time
that's for another trip.
Yeah, the second time we pulled the dash out, we pulled the frame out as well. He sanded that down, coated it with rust reformer, and the wrapping on the wires.
We got the dash out, and we just took the skin off of it. And I noticed that it smelled like old moldy beer. And I talked to the guy at work. He says, my parents have never drank a drop. I have to believe him because I'm not going to call him a liar. But somebody in its life had knocked a beer over inside the
Driver's side.
Because when we got the cluster out, there was a streak of something that had dried on there, and it corroded the bottom half of that and the dimmer switch. So we had to tear that out and clean it and get it working again. But every time we would touch the wiring underneath there, our fingers smelled like stale beer. So I said, no, we're going to do this. We're going to do it right. I took the entire dash frame out. That's what he was talking about. And I wire brushed it off. The factory didn't do anything. That was just blank steel. So I got the rust off it, put rust reformer on it. And then we rewrapped all of the wiring. Took all of the old wrap off, rewrapped all the wiring. And while we had that all apart, we also kill matted the entire floor. For those of you that don't know what kill matting is, it's kind of like a tar aluminum foil.
Yeah.
And it's sound deadening. But we thought that would help seal the floor up and make it a little more comfortable in there. Less heat transfer from the exhaust through the floor pan. And then we started dyeing the interior. We had the seats out already, so I ordered seat covers and new foam and new springs, and he and I reupholstered the entire interior to include dyeing the center console, the armrests, the door skins, like everything on the inside of the car looks like it came right out of the factory brand.
Part of the carpet. While
doing so, something I forgot about, because I was around when these cars were at the dealerships, was cars back then didn't have cup holders. I had completely forgot. Back then, if you wanted a beverage in your vehicle, you had to prop it between your legs and hope that when you're shifting, you didn't spill it. Or have a buddy hold onto it for you. So LMR sells a center console kit that allows you to get cup holders. So I thought, why not? And we dyed it the same color as everything else. And it also added USB ports so you could plug your cell phone in. I thought a little modern
in
twist.
place of the cigarette lighter.
Yeah, because we don't smoke, and that original ashtray and cigarette lighter, it already connects to that point, so it gives you USB charging ports, a couple cup holders, and I thought, all right, we're off to the races. Then when we bought the car, they said, yeah, the stereo, it's got this premium stereo system in it with EQ, which was true. I mean, a very, very rare option in a Fox body because it was so expensive on upgrade, nobody did it. But whoever ordered this car did it, but the power button wouldn't work. Apparently was a common thing. So then we started on a search. I found a guy down in Cleveland, and if I can find his address, we can link it to the bottom.
Yeah, the YouTube channel.
Because he was able to take that radio and tear it completely apart, clean the head unit for the cassette player to make it work properly, changed all of the capacitors in it, refreshed that stereo so it was like factory new. And for, I think it was an extra $100, he added Bluetooth capability. So now the stereo works properly. It's a 6-speaker system instead of the 4-speaker system. The EQ works properly. It's a graphic EQ, so it's got 2 little bouncy things on it every time the beat comes through.
Yeah.
But we can Bluetooth from our phone straight to the stereo while we're driving down the road and rock out any sound we want. We don't have it on a cassette. And I even found a cassette at an antique store because I used to have hundreds of them. But for whatever reason, I got rid of them all.
Yeah.
Probably just because who uses cassettes anymore? But for the nostalgia, we got a little Journey CD, or not CD, but cassette sitting in the player, and it actually works. So that was the interior for the most part. Another story, those cars came with 85 mile an hour speedometers, and I've still got the original, so if anyone ever buys the car from us, I'll hand that over. It's got the original miles on it. But I was looking for 140 mile an hour speedometer for an 87. In 87, the only people that had 140 mile an hour speedometers were police officers, if you bought a Celine or you bought a McLaren.
ASC McLaren.
ASC McLaren. So I ended up finding out that the guy who worked at ASC McLaren, who was still alive, he's like 175 years old, he lives in Florida, and he has all the original ASC McLaren components. If you want to find out what he still has, you can go on ascmclaren.com, and he's got a website, and he shows what parts he still has. Well, he had an original 1987 calibrated 140 mile an hour speedometer for an ASC McLaren that for $125, or probably a lot more now. I bought it. 0 miles on it. I didn't alter that, so whatever the car's got on the odometer now, plus what's on the original speedometer, is what the car currently has. because nowadays 85, I mean, hell, you're getting ran off the road if you're doing 85. You got to be out of your mind to do 85. So not knowing if I was doing 90 or 140, which it might do, I don't know, never tried. We changed that, and we replaced all of the bulbs in the dash with LEDs because they're a lot brighter. It just made sense. And that pretty much explains the interior, right? I mean, we did also put a headliner in.
Yep, headliner.
In 93, the convertibles came with headliners. Prior to that, all you saw was the bare metal framing. So
I'll show you that later.
We installed a 1993 headliner, and it just looks cleaner on the inside. I replaced the mirror because the mirror had the frost chip falling off of it, and apparently you can't order the glass for that anymore, but you can for an 88 and up. So I found a 1988 mirror that fits perfectly, has the wiring for the lights and everything, and we replaced the glass in it, so the mirror looks brand new.
The little piece that got crushed when we put the top up once, and we adjusted the quarter windows.
Oh, yeah. Quarter windows.
And the seals.
If you guys ever buy a Fox by convertible, you're going to learn the pleasure of adjusting a quarter window. Having the factory manuals helped a lot with that. Watching videos on it kind of helped, but it really didn't explain very much. We replaced the bushings in the rear quarter windows, and for those of you who don't know, you don't just stick a quarter window in and it rolls up where it's supposed to be. There's like 7 different ways to adjust it to get it to tilt, to lean out, lean in, tilt forward, tilt back, twist. It's a pain. And you probably should buy new window motors because you're going to burn them up going up and down, checking it constantly, which we ended up having to do.
Yep. Because
I had one of them fail mid-process.
Yeah.
Bought 4 new motors from LMR, put them in there, realized that the passenger side wasn't working. Mm-hmm. It worked when we got the car, but suddenly it wasn't working. Brand new motors and everything. So I started tearing everything back apart, chasing it down with a multimeter to find out that a ground on the driver's side door wasn't making connection. Got that back now. They all work. One day we were taking the top down, and on the back, near the quarter window, that the quarter window slides back in as it goes down, there's a aluminum piece that whoever did the top, because they had the top replaced.
It's not the original.
Did the top, over tightened a bolt, and it busted it off. And then they used Vico seal to hold it in place. Well, over us working on it for 6 months, that Vico seal came loose, and then it tilted forward just enough that when we put the top down one day, it just folded that thing up like a beer can. And I was like, great, where do we find one of these, And for $250 later, I found a used one that matched the car, and it's in there. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much the interior.
Yeah, we replaced all the window and door lock switches and the mirror switch in the console because it has power mirrors.
Replaced the mirrors.
Replaced the mirrors.
All of the belt molding trim.
Yep, seals.
New foam on the top, like where the top piece matches to the roof. Underneath there's foam. We tore those off and replaced all the old foam that was in there.
Added seat extensions for the driver's side.
Yeah, put a 4-inch seat extensions because unless you're 5'9", those cars weren't very comfortable. I mean, a 6'2" person could drive them, but you're going to have your legs flayed out, with one leg leaning against the door, one against the console. But now it's a lot more comfortable.
Got a clutch quadrant too.
Yeah, put in an aluminum clutch quadrant and a firewall adapter and a new clutch cable.
Adjuster.
New brakes all the way around, new struts all the way around, new rotors and drums all the way around, a new IAC, an EGR valve,
air filter, radiator hoses,
condenser for the AC.
Did we put a radiator in that or no?
No, it's still the original radiator.
Evaporator core.
There's just so much stuff, guys. It's so hard to remember it all. We probably should have wrote it all down, but
we're throwing photos up here as we go to document it. So,
and along the way, we had this lift here for about 1.5 years, and we just never got around to putting it up. Well, we got to the point where we needed to work underneath the car, so that was when we decided to put the lift up. We built a little crib for the tractor because we have forks for our tractor because this thing's like 13'6" high.
Yeah.
As I wanted the one we extended the lift so that we could actually walk under it because a lot of lifts, unless you're 5'6", are pretty low. This one, I can stand underneath it without hitting my head on anything, and I figured that was good enough. But we got that put up, and then we were able to look underneath it for the first time.
Yep.
And Yeah, there's no rust anywhere.
It was
underneath this car.
undercoated.
It was originally undercoated from new, and all of it's still there. There's no surface rust underneath there. It's just,
Once we have it up on the list sometime, we'll show you.
yeah, we'll take another. Well, we have pictures of them.
Yeah, we do. That's right.
I put a brace underneath there because these convertibles are kind of twisty. Nothing that we had to cut anything or weld anything. They sell a brace for the K member in the front for convertibles. And that was bolt on. We bolted that on to stiffen up the front. And believe it or not, those cars actually handle pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
We've taken around some pretty tight curves pretty quick, and it holds the road. New tires.
New tires. Before we put the lift in, we actually replaced the starter because that took a crap.
Yeah, because like I say, when we first got it, it ran kind of rough. So we were starting it, trying things, adjusting. The timing was off. I don't know if it was just maybe the timing chain's getting stretched. We've never pulled the motor apart to find out. What else did we do to this thing? I mean, we did so much.
I gotta look at it.
Oh, headlights. We replaced all the headlights.
Badges after paint because it's been painted.
Yeah, we had the car painted.
When it gets warmer, we got to put the stripe on it.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a red. It's called a fluorescent orange orange stripe that came originally on this car. We had it on there. You'll see it in some of the photos before it got painted. But we had to get it painted. We buffed it and polished it. It looked sweet. It really did. I would have never painted the car except for that crackling. It was like the clear coat had spider webbed everywhere, just in this one section where they had to repair them. The rest of it we were able to polish and make it look like it was new paint. So that's been our experience so far with this car. The exhaust.
Yep, the exhaust broke because it rotted out.
Yeah, it had rotted in half.
But we kept it all factory. It's all factory.
Yeah, the cats are still
there. Factory mufflers.
That was important to us because it was important to the lady that sold it to us. She didn't want it to get all cut up and hot rodded, which would have been so easy to do. Mm-hmm. There's been so many of them that have been cut up. There's very few of them that are survivors. And this was a true survivor.
Yeah.
There's nothing we've done to this car that we can't reverse. Literally, nothing. We still have the original 85 mile speedometer.
The brace.
The brace, we can take that off, put the original bolts back in, and there it is. Yeah. You know, and the center console thing, we still got
factory
that.
fresh.
If we want to have a cigarette lighter in there to say, yeah, 1987 it had that. But for us, the minor modification we did with adding the USB port things, that was kind of a must nowadays. Yeah. The intent is to sell the car. I want at least 23 for it. It's worth that all day long. And if no one buys it, we'll keep it until someone does offer that. But at this point, we don't drive it much. Obviously, right now it's winter. But come
when it gets warmer, for sure.
And my ideal car to build, we've got two of them. They're the Fox body notchbacks.
You've seen them.
The LXs, yeah. You've probably
if you haven't seen them, go watch the videos.
The one's the 1989 25th anniversary edition. That one we're going to probably do like with this, bring it back to 100% original because there's just none of them around that somebody didn't, put a stroker motor in or an LS motor or cut the rear end up, lowered it 7 inches. And
we put the clutch packs and stuff in the rear end.
Oh, yeah. We did. I put carbon fiber clutches in this one in the rear because it would cut posi. Not that I did that a lot. But it cut posi and then it would. Like one would stop. So now, even when you turn a corner, it's like chirp, 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 because one tire is trying to keep up with the other. I mean, really,
that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably more stuff. And when he
the minor stuff,
the photos, maybe you'll see some stuff that we didn't talk about. But it was a good project.
Yeah, it was fun for sure.
We started out on it just before Thanksgiving. It was in October.
We brought it home at the beginning of October in 2023.
And then we started working on it just after Thanksgiving because we were putting up this mezzanine you've seen in our videos. Yeah. Because I wanted to get everything, because if you look at those, you'll see it in those photos. This place was just a giant storage area.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have it. I built this barn originally to be a shop. Then I used it for a shop for years. Then age takes over, you collect crap. And it just started piling up in here. And about 2 years ago, I started wanting to make it a shop again. I bought a lift, and like I said, I sat around for a year.
Yeah, I did.
Because we needed the space. So we actually built that mezzanine around the lift that was sitting there. Used it for a bench. And now it's getting to a point where it's starting to become a shop. We're getting our tooling together. Because I thought it was important. My son, I was 45, 42 when you were born.
Oh, I wasn't there.
We had him late in life. I just looked at it like his generation has gotten kind of sold out on the short end of the stick. Everyone complains about Gen Z. I don't know a lot of Gen Zers, but I can tell you one thing. Gen Z kids from the country, they grow up just like Generation X, except for they have a lot more parents around when they have a question. Because everything I know and everything I've learned, it wasn't because of my father. He worked in a factory, could have cared less about working on cars, could have cared less about spending time with me. That was what Generation X went through. I didn't raise him as a helicopter parent. I would
Appreciate that.
I would say things like, I probably wouldn't do that if I were you. And he'd say, huh? And he'd do it anyways. And then come back crying. I go, I told you not to do it. I figured if he was going to be the child that wanted to learn the hard way, well, that's a way of learning. He spent a lot of time learning that way.
I'm here.
But because of it, he's a well-rounded child. Young man now. Because he just turned 16, he's out there tearing up the roads. Not really, he drives cautiously. But I thought it was important that he learn how to be, and I don't mean this to be controversial, a man. A man that, if he was ever to be married to a woman, would be an asset to her life versus just another person existing in a home. And he's learned how to weld, he's learned how to paint, he's learned how to work on cars, diagnose problems. He was changing tires when he was 5.
And then I crushed my toe with one. That was fun.
Yeah, that was one of those learning your hard way experiences. And I said, don't play with that truck tire. It's going to fall and hit your foot. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And 2 minutes later, I heard you bawling your guts out with a tire on your foot. So it's good. And I think that if you guys are young parents out there and you're wondering why some kids are so messed up today, it's just because they didn't have good role models. Be a role model to your kids, maybe to other kids. But what do you think? Was it rough growing up with a Gen X parent?
Nah, it wasn't bad.
And I don't know the difference of raising a Gen Z from a millennial from anything else. We just raised him like I thought I would give him respect. If he lost my respect, then he had to earn it back. Now he's got a job at 16. He's heading in the right direction. But we're going to show you a little bit about the car, give you some closer up videos. So. All right, well, we're going to walk around the car and show you a little bit closer. Now, don't fault us for the fact that it's been sitting out here getting dusty while we were working on the 68. And I'm not going to take it out in this weather to clean it. So it'll just be dusty till spring. And then you've seen it in past videos where it just shines like a new penny. And there's our pole barn cat. We call him Polecat, Smoky Polecat. As you can see, the top's in excellent condition.
Just dirty is all.
When we got it, this luggage rack was all faded and missing most of its paint. We redid that. Redid all of these pieces. Polished the rims. Those are the original rims, and they're in excellent condition. One part that was bad was this strip here. It had sun rotted on the top, and we had to put new ones on. That's another reason we got it painted. I'm going to show you how the top works real quick. Those are new mirrors too, by the way.
Yeah. Power mirrors.
So, add some light in here so you guys can see. Probably have to turn the key on.
Yep.
Let's see here. Actually, you know what? Let me show you what the LEDs look like.
Yeah.
So you can see how much brighter these LED. Well, maybe you don't know the difference on what it did look like, but they were probably about like this. And with the LEDs, it brightened it up. Also with the controls, it made it a lot brighter. You can actually see it.
I'll come around to the passenger side really quick. So, all right, in the co-pilot seat.
Okay, so maybe you can get a better view of it now with how much brighter they are. We also put a new headliner. So let me get some light up here. That's the new headliner. I thought it looked a lot better than just the regular bars. There's the new mirror.
We did these here.
And new visors, because the other ones were kind of gross. Dyed the whole interior. You can see it's all, that's the cup holder thing. There's some cup stains in it, but This is where your extra charger ports are. All right, so let's start it up. Left the radio on. Hey, while we got the radio on, let's show you this Bluetooth stuff. So to start Bluetooth, you press that button.
Preset 4.
Hit preset 4, and you put the appropriate volume on it. So this is off of my phone. And there's nothing like old hair metal band stuff in a car of that era. See? If you want to hear what it sounds like without that, you tell the difference? So at that time, it made sense because we wanted to keep this car period correct to go ahead and just do that. And earlier when we showed you, you can see what the LEDs look like when there's actually power running through the car. They're much brighter. And then, like I say, we showed you the headliner. Yep. Let's show them how this top comes down. So we fold these out of the way. There's a latch over here on the side.
Yep. Just pull that forward. That out of the way.
I always mess this up. I think we got to go forward.
Yeah.
There we go. And the top works like it should. And we got the car running. I don't know if you can hear. It is a 5.0 V8. Now you can see the interior that we redid. Like I say, these seats are excellent condition. But usually when we're storing it, we keep the top up.
Yep.
If you want, you can walk them out and show them the engine. Okay. Then let me know and I'll shut it off. Oh, the headlights work. The fog lights work. I'll turn those on real quick. That's with fog lights, without fog lights, just running lights, and off. All right, under here, oh, hold that open a second. So under here, we replaced the air conditioning pump, the heater core, hoses, IAC, the EGR valve, put in a K&N filter. Over here you can see the firewall adapter for the new clutch cable that runs down there. Other than that, this is bone stock. It runs excellent. You can hear it's pretty quiet. We'll shut the hood real quick. All right, if you want to hear what it sounds like from the rear, let's give it a quick thump. All right, now I'm going to shut it down so we don't gas ourselves out in here. Oh, let's get the top back up first. We'll show them that. Now, mind you, it's really cold out here, so I'm sure that hydraulic fluid is pretty cool. Yeah, push that forward. Yep. There.
Right, she's locked it.
The top's down. Some advice: whenever you have a convertible, make sure these handles are shut when you drop it back, so that the cloth doesn't rub up against it and possibly tear it. But in a nutshell, we've touched almost everything on this car. If you would have seen it, which you'll see in the photos, this entire dash was torn apart, all the wiring redone. It's a good car. It's pretty much about like when it came out brand new. Yep. And when these were around, I was around when I went in the military in 1988. Or yeah, 88. These were about $17,000. If you want a GT T-top, I saw one with the dealer incentives for $13,500, and I couldn't afford that if I sold my left arm, because back then minimum wage was about $1.75 an hour. So if you owned one of these, they were the poor man's sports car for sure. Other than the Buick Grand National, there wasn't anything at the time that would touch these. Ford really put a lot of development behind these cars. They were light, quick. By today's standards, they're slower than probably a little four-banger turbo car. But they still have a lot of torque, and they'll bust these tires loose like it's nothing.
Yeah.
And it'll top out about 139. And if you did any kind of mods to it, you'd probably get more than that. But that's this car in a nutshell. We thought we should explain about it. It's been sitting in the background. It's kind of where Max cut his teeth on working on cars.
Yeah.
Anything to say to the folks?
If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss anything. Check out all of our other content, shorts and stuff, all that. If you want to, drop a comment in this video, and tell us what kind of content you want to see next, what vehicle. We'll see you in the next video, hopefully pretty soon, because it's supposed to warm up a little bit.
Then we get back on that 68. I think I pretty much got frostbite on a couple toes making those videos, and that's not even a joke. But now that that's kind of healed up and it's supposed to warm up, we'll get started on that again. I don't like letting projects sit. Like I say, we started this one and basically tore it down to the frame and put it back together in 6 months.
Yeah.
I had anticipated that car would have been done before Christmas, but then weather hit us. We've had the coldest year in probably the last 10. So last year was pretty mild. We worked all the way through the winter on this car.
Yeah.
But have a good night, everybody. Tell your friends.